Welcome to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy is a veteran U.S. Navy SEAL, a former protective officer for the CIA Global Response Staff, founder and CEO of the Able Shepherd Program, a husband and father of 4, and a personal friend of mine. Now here's Jimmy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. I'm your host, Jimmy Graham. This episode, once again, brought to you by Able Nation. If you're entrusted with the safety and security of your church or school, Able Nation can help. So Able Nation helps with financial and material support, safety supplies, and then training scholarships. A lot of times we meet people that don't have the funds or a budget set aside, and they're left unprotected because of that. Fill out a simple application. Literally, I think it's like 5 questions. Get that to Neil Pinkham at able-nation.org. Thank you. Today, I am joined by Melissa Papulias. She's the Able Shepherd's Operations Manager. We've done BK Snagger on the way out the door. He's giving me this right here. And she's acting timid, at least on camera. We've been knocking it out of the park, meaning that we've been praying. We've been, I believe, obedient to what we're called to do. And we get to celebrate victories all the time. So I wanted to just have you kind of recap on some of the recent stuff. We'll just kind of tag team some of this stuff. But man, we've had a good run. Obviously Stand in the Gap initiative, the Stand in the Gap initiative is something that we felt led to do. That has led off into several things. First, it was more personal one-on-one, getting people prepared with some lists and saying, you should live this way, you should have some things. And then it started down, we call them fronts. Like, what front are we going to head down? For example, pro-life. I believe it's, we talk about protectors. It's a Protector Culture podcast, and it is important to protect the weakest among us. So that led to pro-life. And now we're talking about school boards and all that in between. So first of all, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. It's we just got done with the 4E class, hostage class.
How are the pipes?
The pipes are good. It's a little warm today. So, your comment about let's do the podcast. I'm like, oh, geez, a little sweaty. But
so 4E, what does that mean? It means we have a hostage scenario rescue. It's hostage rescue scenario rather, to where people go in. This one happens to be lights off, so it's flashlights, it's primary, secondaries, meaning an AR and a pistol, and then you bust into the shoot house and someone's screaming their head off, and then sometimes they're injured, so they need a tourniquet. Sometimes you just need to get them up, get a perimeter around them, and get them out. So we train how to do that safely and effectively, and Melissa gets called in regularly, and others that volunteer to. It's funny to me when you hear a woman scream. It's just guys and gals. You kick it into another gear, you take off, and tactics goes out the window. So we have to get them to stick with the plan and stay with a safe method of entry, even when somebody is screaming. So it's a lot of fun. All right. Okay. So I want to jump over. We did the Stand Courageous, obviously. Men's group in Woodlands Park. We took a group down there. There were a couple groups. We linked up together, saw a bunch of familiar faces that heard about it on this podcast, and then went down there and got some really good training for that day. That led to the next thing, which we called the Family Mountain Adventure. So how was that born? If you can just kind of walk us into that.
So we were approached by Alternatives Pregnancy to, partner together to raise some money for them, and we graciously accepted that, challenge, in other words, to get together to raise money for them. And the idea was we wanted more of a family type outing where we could get out in the beautiful mountains of Colorado and get together on a weekend with our families and just be together. So we were like, what can we go do? The idea was born. I think you went out one day and we had an idea. We talked to a few people about some areas and maps for a route. And then just went out and planned that route. We started in Castle Rock at Grace Chapel, and then went down, it was at Highway 67, does that right? So, yeah, to Sedalia, and then went on, hit the dirt road, had a stop where we had Parker and his wife. They ran an archery station. So just as a lowdown real quick, we had 4 or 5 stops along this route, but the first stop was at archery, and we got to...
I think it's funny because on the archery one, we really wanted to be a family. We've done some before that were galas, and they did well. They raised a lot of money. Yeah. A little stuffy for us. It was cool. Everybody shined up nice, and it's fun to see everybody having a good night and an exceptional dinner and all this stuff. And but I wasn't really excited to do it again. the things that we've done, and personally with you, with our families together and all that, is just get out and do these adventures. I'm really tying into this adventure thing. So when we said that, we're like, oh yeah, like, I mean, Everett, he's not the kind of guy, her husband Everett in the program. He's an able shepherd. He's not the guy that's going to like, I'll lean a 2x4 up against a tree and throw a knife at it. He's going to go to the National Axe Throwing Association, get the specs and build it. And it's going to weigh 500 pounds and it's going to be painted.
Details. Yep.
Insane.
Colors, all of it.
It's a perfect guy to run the axe throwing station.
Yep.
You know,
he did that.
And then when we set up the archery deal, I tell Parker, like, hey, do it, make it like not easy, but doable. And then I come, he's got kids shooting like with
across the road.
Across the street. I'm like, whoa, what's
Stopping
going on?
traffic,
It's like, this isn't even
go.
possible. So we moved a little closer, and they got double points if they shot a Pepsi can. So
Yep.
we shook it up, and if you hit it and sprays pop everywhere, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So
Yeah,
so that was the archery, and then keep
so
walking us around the.
We, took that scenic around the Platte River, water, following the river, dirt road, people out floating. Just
beautiful
the beauty
day.
of the
Perfect
area.
day.
Yeah. So the next stop was at JW Mercantile. Is that right? Yep.
JW Green.
So that was Dawn and Lori Jones, and they were running a modified frisbee golf. So they were you'd throw frisbees and try to score points. And all along the way, we're giving family or participants these tickets to be able to get a grand prize at the end. So the idea was to get as many tickets as you could along the way.
So you got tickets for showing up, and just participating, but then they got double tickets if they made certain things, right?
Yep.
So if they did something, you spray Pepsi everywhere, double tickets. If you get it into the basket, there's 5 points, 5 tickets, whatever.
Yep. So, and then, we had the wind against us at that stop, but they made the best of it. It was still fun. It was good. And we went on down to, after that, it was Decker's Corner. So Decker's Corner, we had Tim Brown and Alan Kelton. They were down there manning the station. It's kind of a more, being a Saturday, it was a mixed crowd, but it tends to be more of a biker corner.
Stop, yeah.
Yes. So lots of bikes, a lot of people looking around. Along the ride, we had you on the Ural too.
Yeah.
So when you pull up to the biker bar and you have this amazing bike that's, not something you see all the time.
Thank you, Colorado Ural.
So you see this bike roll up, and it's, it was neat to see that. So Tim and Alan, they were manning that, where you could go in and get ice cream.
Yep.
And then we headed to Osprey Campground, which we had some friends there that were camping and secured some spots. But we had Everett, my husband, running that axe throwing station, and it was a hit for sure. And a lot of the thing that you would think most people, Linda with Alternatives, she even stepped to the plate.
Oh, yeah,
and she was throwing, and kids of all ages. So it was just a lot of fun, and we challenged everybody also to get in the river and get a little wet.
So was it Kevin, the other guy? So there was she had another
her counterpart. Yep.
So I heard him. This is kind of like they're conspiring.
Yeah.
Man, I'll do it if you do it. So I heard them talking about this and that. And Everett is just, he's got it down. He tells them how to do it and adjust their distance, and they're sinking, these axes. And then other people are lining up, and they were kind of falling to the back, and they've got their alternative stuff on because they're there in uniform and t-shirts, whatever. And I'm like, next stop, Linda. She's like, okay. And she jumps up and starts doing it. And then he starts doing it. It was a blast. And that Ural, so Colorado Ural, thanks again, kind of taking care of me on that. We came out there, I rented it for a day. Ended up keeping it the weekend. They cut me a deal on that, and it was just a hit. So it was so much fun. Thanks, Perry Saul, my brother. He's always steps to the plate. He's in a truck behind me with my other kids, and I'm riding for about an hour, and then I switch out kids. And we're riding for an hour, we switch out kids. So they're in a sidecar in the mountains on these gravel roads, and that's where that thing thrives. You get it up on the interstate, and it's hang on, be careful. It doesn't like 70 miles. It'll do it, but man, it just feels it's a different thing. You get it on those mountain roads, and it's what it was made for. So it was a blast. I highly recommend it if you get a chance to ride one. And people just want to jump, young and old. Take me for a ride. They're jumping in this sidecar thing, and it's a riot. Oh. So very, very cool. So then we bring it back to the finish line.
Yep, we're at the finish line. So, and along the way, we had we had a lot of sponsors that were able to help us make baskets. So of all the families or anybody that registered or donated to do the event, they were put in for a random drawing for one of 4 baskets that we put together. Some people were present and actually participated. Others, they still were in the drawing, but we were able to give those baskets away and do the drawing. Then we did the final family based using the tickets that you earn along the way. We did that drawing as well. So,
but the last stop was the axe throwing. So you got tickets. If you got a bullseye, I think you got tickets. But then you got double tickets
for
if
getting
you
wet.
Jumped in the river.
Yes. Yeah.
Frigid. And the kids
I didn't do it, so
you didn't do it. Oh, so yeah. So the kids ran over there, and they had to go all the way under, ice cold water, pop out, and then give them my tickets. And then they got them, wrote their families' names on them, and then we drew that one. So that was absolutely fantastic. So
it was a beautiful day, though. So even if you were to get wet, it probably felt refreshing for sure.
So one of my favorite things about that entire deal, and I think I've told you this, was that you were losing your mind 2 days before.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're in tears, and is it coming together? I think you and Everett were up late one night doing stuff, and I'm like, go to bed. And you're having questions. I'm like, hey, like done here. And then I literally said, hey, God sees us. Like that's what I texted in the conversation, and it was like, hey, we got this. And the day of, though, you're with my wife, Rachel, and your mom, and you're running this thing, and you're talking to the crowd, and you're just firing all cylinders, and your family's there. You're assigning people, including your husband. Everett, go get set up. You go get set up. You go get set up. So now this is the Melissa show. So she's going through and checking all these, and your mom gets to see it. That was super honoring. I just kind of, at some point, it soaked in, and I was like, this is kind of a cool thing for a mom to see a daughter just knocking out of the park, saving babies. I mean, it's a cool thing anyways, because these are amazing people that we get, obviously to surround ourselves with. But it was just this amazing thing that was 100% us, and we were just doing it. So it was a success the day of. We had no idea how much money we raised. We just said, man, this is a hit. And then you said something very important. I mean, that caught me off guard. Jimmy doesn't know this, but next year we're going to even do it bigger and better. And I'm like, 2 days ago, you were about to stab me in the eye with an ink pen, and now you are just beaming. So that was super cool for me to see, because we do get to celebrate this. We are very blessed, and I think just coming off of one that we did, whatever the last thing that we did, and when I walked in, you're like, we're very blessed. I'm like, we are. It's just this is a regular thing. That's a regular line for us. Like I truly believe God does see us.
So to piggyback on that, we got home that night, and I actually received a text message from my mom, like saying how proud she was of me. Like,
really?
She's like, to see you in the element, just doing your thing. She goes, I'm so proud of the woman you're becoming.
Oh. And I'm like, BK, hand me the tissue, BK.
But I mean,
he's over there crying.
As a daughter and mother-daughter relationship, just to be able to be, your mom, to recognize that
it's a big deal.
It was
very, very honoring. Well deserved. Thank you. That's the thing. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Is that you said that. You're like, I'm full when I'm serving people. And that means at your house serving dinner. And I've literally been talking to somebody, and then a plate shows up, and I see you're handing people because they're busy, and they're like, oh, food, that's good, whatever. Yeah. And then they take care of one another. Like you're made for this. Good job. Yeah. So very, very cool. So let's see the volunteers. So we already mentioned that. Who ran the stations and all that stuff? Yep. Man, that was a cool thing. Memorial support. So I'm gonna go into this one easy, because I don't know how much we're supposed to. I just want to be respectful.
Yep.
Is that there was a church that's not near here. It's pretty far away, but they had a situation. We've done training with them in the past. And we've just earned their trust. So they were wiped out with a tragedy that just happened involving a young girl. And they simply said, we're a mess right now. We're emotional. And can you help?
Yep.
So I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by this community, and I picked some guys, and they went out with me. So I took a team out, and it was very honoring in that they needed help. So they needed somebody to stand with them. And when I kind of asked around and just asked a few guys if they're available, I found that those guys needed to stand. They needed to be there. Yep. So these people needed support. These people needed to be support. So I was like, and I got regular responses like, this is what we do, and this is why I signed up for this, and I would be honored and all that stuff. And we absolutely were. We were joined side by side with another team that we didn't know that immediately hit it off with State Patrol, that we immediately hit it off. There was a mutual respect, and it was just this amazing thing that we got to do just by being us. So I wanted to mention that just because if you were on that team, I absolutely appreciate it. And if for the folks that greeted us out there, it was a horrible situation, but everybody left there stronger. So we're very honored to be a part of that. The Lomond Gun Club was kind of an update of all the things that we've kind of been doing in the program. We've done 3 of 5 special events in our summer series. Yep. Those have been amazing.
Yep.
I forget how much I like shooting outdoors and teaching outdoors, because we get a certain element here, this vibe and this spirit, this energy, and then when you go out there, some of these people have never done it, so it just bumps it up. It's always like, God, this is awesome, best one ever, and then it just doesn't stop. Like, how can they all be the best one ever, But it's been a lot of fun, and then we've got the other one coming up this weekend, actually.
What was it, that first one? There was that sandstorm, or what was it, like really bad weather, rain or something that you guys were a little delayed, and then there was the egg eating at the end.
Yes.
Like, no, everybody, did you eat today? No, I didn't eat today, but we have eggs.
I don't even know. If you get this idle hands are the devil's work, right? So we're sitting there and we're like, man, I'm kind of hungry, whatever, skip breakfast. And on the way out, I think did I pick something up at your house?
Eggs,
and you handed me, well, no, I picked up something else and you go, hey, here's eggs. Oh,
yep.
Take these to Parker. So I got 2 dozen eggs that are obviously, farm fresh eggs. We go out there and then I'm like, I don't even know what happened. It was like crack, and I just cracked one into Parker's mouth, and he swallows it. And I'm like, great, now I got to do it. And then he cracks one. I'm like, right on. I'm not full anymore. I'm Rocky Balboa up in here at the range. Anyways, just a cool element. And then, followed by group pictures, and we all get together, and it's just a fun thing to do while continuously developing skills. We are continuing to meet with schools and churches.
Yep.
Schools coming back up. So I see on my calendar, another one popped up just today. But we've been talking to schools, talking to churches, because, we just got to be vigilant about, the what ifs. Just because there hasn't been one in a minute, now kids are about to get back into school. People are all a little more sensitive than
before.
Normal. So, and I don't know. And has there been, is there a spike now, or am I just seeing more of it?
No,
you handle that stuff.
I think there's always an interest. There seems to be a spike when tragedies do happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in a school situation, though. It could be at a grocery store. It could be at, anywhere. It's in the news. And it becomes a top priority of the schools. Yeah. But I would say, we're all, if you're a parent, and your kids are going back to school, it is your responsibility to, raise that awareness to any school that maybe you're part of, and ask questions. I mean, that's our job as parents to, protect our kids. But if they're at the mercy of the school during the day, they need to be protected, and you should be asking those questions. We
were just in a school, we were sitting there in a very well-known school here locally. And I said something. I said, I get it, because it doesn't. If you don't know what you're talking about, anything looks amazing. These guys are really good. They talk about guns, and sometimes they shoot at the range and all that kind of stuff. And I said, don't forget this part. Show me. Yep. Show me what you can do. And can you just take a second and tell people how you came to work here? Like, what were you doing before this? Because I think it's a cool story. You're very passionate, and you became that voice. You're like, and you're like so passionate that you end up working for us. Yeah.
So as maybe many of you don't know, I came from the teaching educational world. I taught for 3 years, 4th grade science at a local school. And then there are a lot of different reasons for leaving. One, that my passion, it's always been education, but the top priority is school safety. And, things happened that year. There was a STEM shooting one of those years, and just the awareness. And, when you continuously feel like there's more that school districts can do, you get drawn away. Yeah. And so you have to follow passions. And I encourage anybody, if there's a job that you are being led to go do, you should follow that passion and that direction, because usually it's God that's leading you there. And so I did. We've talked, and there was something more for me to do. And we joke about being recruited and, stealing me away from the school district, but there was that done. And it was more following what I need to be led to do. Yeah. So
it's a good fit.
It is a good fit.
It went all the way around.
Yes.
Let's see. Schools, churches. And then we have, Mondays, and I'm proud of this, because remember what used to be, once in a while, we would do the Bible studies. I meet with my group of guys on Friday morning as kind of a thing that's been going on for like 8-9 years, some of those guys. But we do on Mondays, we do the Jack Hibbs service from usually Sunday, sometimes Wednesday, but it was amazing this past Monday. And what I've seen in my group is that, yes, it's a recent topic, and what does it have to do to me sitting right here? People, particularly men, need to talk about it. We have women too, but it's primarily men. They just need to talk about it and be reminded that they're not going crazy. Like, this is actually happening, and you're up. Like, this is the deal. So Mondays are fantastic, where we do the Jack Hibbs approximate hour, 45 minutes, and then we talk about it for about an hour. So it's about a 2-hour session, and just touching base, this underground church kind of thing that he keeps talking about. And the same thing with Brett's on Thursdays. I joined that one. Brett facilitates it. That's an able shepherd that moved to Florida. Now he runs a Zoom call Bible study that a bunch of guys are on. His family's still here. A bunch of able shepherds are on there. And his is Chuck Missler, who is just a godsend of a guy that is just, the things he was saying 5-10 years ago, because he's no longer with us, older gentleman, it couldn't have been more today. And he keeps talking about the underground church. And then we've got, the last Thursday of the month is your women's rice group.
Yeah. So I have seen when we do meet and we do our studies, but a lot of times it's more just getting together in community and talking a lot about what is happening in the world today. And, just the upset, political wise, but also about churches, trying to find the truth and really where the truth is at. It's in our hands. It's the Bible.
Yeah.
So.
And that actually came up is where do you get your truth? So it's so confusing. Anything you want to believe about a vaccine or about a virus or any of that, I can find as much data as you want, either any direction. So right now it's just kind of, people are like, well, follow the science. And then I'm like, okay, well, what about this? And, so it's very confusing. And so when you're that confused, you got to go back to what do you believe? Bible. Constitution, start there, and then just start over. And then how does that apply to this? And it's got to run through a filter. But then also, what do you know to absolutely be 100% true? Believe it that unborn babies are still human beings. We should protect them. Roger that. Let's launch. And we do a fundraiser. I believe that our children are our future. We should fight for them. Okay, let's go do the school thing, and figure out who's going to be the Douglas County School Board, So we're looking, that's one of the future things I'm going to talk about. So I think that, and we have said it this way, I was going to wrap up with this, but in a war of good and evil, anytime you do good, you tip the scales. So go do something good and then make it a habit and then invite other people. That's the way it's got to be, and we even met somebody tonight that's like, hey, do you know about this networking group? You've got to, because they're looking for people like you, and we're looking for something like that. So obviously, one of the futures, we're switching to the future updates, was invited to be fellow on community safety with the Centennial Institute, which I absolutely respect those guys. We just wrote our first op-ed. They came back. This is strange for me because it came back. It's not a sales thing. It's an opinion piece, but it is a public service type deal. What do people need to know? So I wrote one, and they came back and say more about you. And I'm like, I don't like talking about me, like whatever. But they're like, hey, for credibility, just start. And I know you're not comfortable with this, but put more on there, right? And I'm like, okay, so we're going to put a little bit more leading in about my background, how that pertains to it. Because I just thought at the end, it says kind of a little spiel, a couple lines about you. But they want to lead in with that. So no worries, we'll get that back to them. But that's the kind of thing we're looking for, is making a difference. And what is our highest and best use in that? So we just talked about the mix coming back. So if you're familiar with the mix, once a month pre-COVID, back in those days, we used to do what we called the mix. And what it meant was a mix of topics. The mix of topics, we're going to have a guest speaker in there. Everybody get together, fellowship. We're going to, eat together. And then we're all going to, bless the food, eat, and then somebody's going to speak, and we're going to get value out of that. So we're looking at bringing that back, potentially outdoor facility, and then potentially possibly back at Centennial. So that'll be good. This weekend is the Q3 special event. So that's going to be the Able Shepherd, both primary and secondary, on 2 different ranges. So that's going to be fun. Let's see. Church security special event. We're going to do the follow-on podcast about this, is that, we did a school shooting, church security training video back in 2019. So we've re-released, and we're going to talk about why we did that video, because the focus was on deconfliction with the police, which right now has everybody's attention because of the Good Samaritan that was killed recently. So I want to be very respectful about that, but there are things that people need to know. And we're looking at potentially, it's not locked in yet, but you said it's close, maybe? November, December. So there's a possibility,
off-site.
I'll just leave it at that, of an off-site special event, church security training, in both in November and December. And this is an amazing opportunity, because it's typically, I'll leave it at that. If we get to do that, it's amazing, because typically you can't do it, the training like we want to do it.
Right.
This church is going away. They're tearing it down so we can do whatever we want, if it happens. So we'll keep you posted for that, so we can make a mess. That's good. School board. There is again, coming off of the sugar high of our last victory, and I'm walking down the street, run into one of the commissioners, start talking about what's going on and everything, and we start talking about the school board. and that there's 4 people that have identified that are looking to take back our schools. No 1619, very conservative values, all of that stuff. So we're going to meet with them personally. We're going to find in their schedule when we can meet, have coffee, talk to them. And if they pass the sniff test, we're going to launch forward and get them elected. So that's our goal. Again, from the Stand Courageous thing, it looks like it just popped up on my calendar. August 10th, I'm talking to Jerry Boykin on a Zoom call. So awesome. Just again, what can we do to help? They're on the same front in the calling men to stand courageous. So we're looking to see where we can support there and start a community, not community action. What is it? The initiative team, CIT, impact team, community impact team. Cool. Tell me about the American Legion.
That is down in Castle Rock with Mike McNary.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's with the
Castle Lowell Ranch in Castle Rock.
Yes.
Castle Lowell Ranch.
Is that for the Legion?
American Legion.
Yep.
So I think that's a short speaking engagement, talking about all the stuff we're doing and inviting people to do more. Applewood Baptist Men's Retreat in Leadville on 27-28 August. Yep. That came from one of our partners up north that we did our Stand in the Gap initiative. They asked me to, after we spoke there, they're launching, and they asked for help launching their men's group. I said, absolutely, that's right up our alley. At first I was going to bring my son, but I'm going to be kind of focused on that. He's 7, so I don't want to leave him to the side kind of thing. So I think I'm just going to go and tackle that thing, speaking twice, camp out activities in Leadville. So it's up high. So it'll be super cool. And then our gathering in October. So that's going to be a new location, TBD, but it's going to be a new range way up north. And we're excited about that. So we've talked to Kyle, lock that in, correct?
Yeah.
Cool.
We did. We're good.
Cool. All right. Man, what else? Wrap it up with something amazing.
Well,
I always put people on the spot.
I do have some.
Last week, you were just like, come on, man.
Well, I don't know. Do you want to share?
What are we talking about?
Family Mountain Adventure. Or alternatives.
Yes. That. Go ahead.
Okay. So we had earlier talked about the Family Mountain Adventure and the money that we raised for alternatives. And we do have a final number that we are going to be presenting to them on August 3rd. And that final number is $35,000. It is, I was coming off of a plane and I'm at the airport and my phone opens up and I get this picture from you, and it's just, I was in tears on the plane. I mean, these emotional victories and just how blessed our community is. But I will tell you, of course, we're recording this before the, release date. But, we're going to be presenting that check to, Linda and her team. So awesome. And we couldn't do it without this amazing community. Yeah, amen. And that just really... Because doing it, when you do something like this, you have no idea. No. You're in God's hands and you say, okay, we're going to do the thing. And then in doing it, it just made our team stronger. So that's a win. Yep. And then we said, okay, we raised $6-ish, a little over $6,000, almost $7,000. And then you meet somebody else and they hand you a check. That has nothing to do with this, by the way. I was in a meeting and somebody just literally looked at their husband. They looked at me, handed it to the husband. He looked and nodded and handed it. Yeah. And that made our goal. Right. Then later 2 days later, I have a meeting and somebody, it just didn't stop. Nope. And they were like, whoosh, and I asked that, one of the ladies, I was like, with your permission, because she made out table shepherd. God told me to do this. Yeah. Go, with your permission, can I sign this over? Because she made out table shepherd. Can I sign it over to our fundraiser? Because you didn't know this. We had a goal. This is the missing money. This is what we hope to get. She goes, you don't need my permission. God just told you what to do with it. I was like, oh man, boom, done deal. And then we blow it away the next couple days. I was like, man. So that is unbelievable. And then really to those people that say, what really can we do? More than you think, And people have said, what does saving babies have to do with training, the stuff you do? And I say, more than you think. Yeah. Like it's all connected. Well, I just know that we never had a set goal. There was just, whatever, any amount that we could actually raise is still going to benefit alternatives. Yeah. And I kept telling myself that days before, days even after. And then just everything started falling into place. Things were trickling in. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is working. Unbelievable. Yeah. And we said that if it was $500, what God can do with that $500, knowing that we did sacrifice time, we invested time, we invested money, we reached out, we had amazing sponsors that just came up and made these, just made it an amazing thing. Like it's actually, God sees us. He sees that. He's like, this isn't just $500. Yep.
But then it ended up being 35,000.
It
It's
is.
like, whatever. It's like, cool. That's how he works. All right.
Yes.
So thank you so much, because I forgot that we were going to announce that. We talked about it. We're like, I don't know, do we or do we save it? But I think that that's awesome, and hopefully that's encouragement. Because a part of our goals, two of our goals, was to raise money, anything that we could, because I truly believe that's a sin of our generation. Like, truly. Like, if you say you're a protector and you know that babies are being murdered, you know, at the numbers that they are every year, and you're not doing anything, then to me, I feel like a hypocrite. So my kids can't see me seated knowing that. The other thing was to get people used to I'll say activism, like it's not a bad thing, but if you are active for the things that you believe, God sees you. So if you get a taste of that by jumping in a river and you go, this was not only a great day to spend with my family, which is at the core of it, is first it's me, you know, like literally I got to work on me. I keep going back to that Jordan Peterson podcast that we talked about. The world would be a lot better if you were a lot better. Like, wow, that is convicting if you think about it long enough. And then it takes me being better to make Christian Graham better, to make Rebecca Graham, Sarah Graham, Eden Graham better. So all of this is an investment. So if something like this sparks it in somebody to do more of it, there's nothing bad there. That could start a ripple. That who knows?
We feel like we always tell people there's, you know, and I visually see this, people shaking their hands at TVs, you know, shaking their fists, you know, at people, like, and at political things. And you know what? Don't just shake your fist. Go do something about it. Yeah. Do something to make it better. Yeah. And if it's something little, you're still doing something. Yeah. Do an action. It's
a cop out. You know, And I used to call it the Christian cop-out. I'll pray about it. Like when my sister would say, I'll pray about it. They would say flippantly, like it means that ain't going to get done, right? Because if they don't want to do it, they'll just say they pray about it. And I tell people, I pray before, during, and after everything we do, including this ride. And God blesses it. Yep. You know, so good job, friend.
Thank you.
Good job, BK. All right, so we're going to sign off. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, able-nation.org. We say prayerfully consider supporting that. That is the organization that hosted this fundraiser. So they, Neil and Melissa, this is going to be you guys, by the way. I'm going to be cheering. I'm going to be your cheerleader in the background. You guys are going to present a check next week. able-nation.org. It's not too late to give because it's still the 31st, right? And then we wrap everything up. We sum everything up, and then we write a check and we donate it. But amazing, so prayerfully consider that. They hosted the fundraiser. We facilitated with our staff, and then all the proceeds go to Alternatives Pregnancy Center. Their website is youhavealternatives.com. .com or .org? Dang it. One of those. Facebook, please support us, follow us rather. Jimmy Graham is my personal one, and then Abel Shepherd. Just look up Abel Shepherd on Facebook. Stand in the Gap Initiative. Again, the thing that we've been called to do, and we are not going to stop. We're going to continue to go where the Lord leads us. Standinthegapinitiative.com. A lot of resources there. See the video of this if you're listening. And if you're watching it, you can listen to it again in the car. Perry Saul does both. Yes. At protectorculture.com. That's all I got. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. Until we see you next time, God bless each and every one of you. Take care of one another.